Welcome to the Front 7 podcast. I am your host, Money Mike. Well, the football season is right around the corner. We are just a couple weeks away from the Hall of Fame game, which will kick off the preseason over in Canton, Ohio, with the Ravens and the Bears. And, well, we have some news for this week, as the franchise tag deadline has come and gone and no deals were done with any of the players. When you look at Le'Veon Bell, who is the focus of this video, Lions defensive end Ezekiel Ananza, you look at Cowboys defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, and the Rams safety LaMarcus Jr., these are all going to be big name players in free agency next year, given whether they may get tagged again or not. But I want to specifically here talk about Le'Veon Bell. It's come out that Bell actually turned down a 5-year, $70 million contract from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's $10 million more than what the Steelers offered last year. According to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, he said that the contract that was offered this year, the 5-year, $70 million, would have gave Bell more than $30 million in the first 2 years. So it's quite interesting that he would turn down that kind of money. It seems to me that he wants to be paid the highest paid player, regardless of position here. His agent has actually come out and said that the Steelers don't want to pay the player, they want to pay the position. And I don't know how that makes any sense to me, because no team is going to pony up 14, 15, 16 million or even more for a running back. When you look at Le'Veon Bell's history, yes, his on-the-field talent is undeniable. You cannot say that he's definitely not worth some kind of money to be paid as a top running back, but to be asking for about, 6-7 million higher than what the top running back actually gets paid, really insane. And today I am going to go over 5 teams that will be stupid enough to overpay for Le'Veon Bell in free agency come 2019. So let's go ahead and get started here with number 5. And the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks made a very surprising pick of Rashad Penny in the first round of this year's draft. You would think that they wouldn't be on this list, but I want to list them anyway, due to the fact that they will have a good amount of cap, and also Le'Veon Bell would give Seattle what they've been missing in the run game since Marshawn Lynch left town. Now, this could be a dual threat. You have Rashad Penny, you have Le'Veon Bell, and I think the way Seattle could do it is if you maybe kind of split the carries, so Bell is maybe more healthier in the playoffs. By the chance that the Seahawks do make the playoffs, Bell is a little bit more healthier. He hasn't had as much toll taken on him because of the splitting of the carries with Rashad Penny. So it could make for a good little dynamic duo there in Seattle. I think that to me would be a very interesting signing if he chose the Seattle Seahawks for free agency next year. So now we move on to the next team on this list, and that is the Green Bay Packers. We saw the Green Bay Packers go out this year, and they went out and they signed Jimmy Graham as a big offensive addition to their team. And Aaron Rodgers is 34. He has come out and said, hey, he wants to play until he's 40. But what are the best chances of the Packers to get to the Super Bowl and get Aaron another ring? Adding a running back like Le'Veon Bell. I think you can put him right there behind Aaron Rodgers. You get a solid run game out of him, and I think that would make the Packers offense even more deadly as they are now without Bell. So I think Green Bay could be a big player here. You know, we know that they wanted to sign Randy Moss back in 2007. The big trade that almost was, that would have changed the entire landscape of the NFL, where it was reported that the Packers were willing to send a young Aaron Rodgers over to Oakland for Randy Moss. And, I mean, if that would have happened, that would have changed everything we know about the NFL of today. So, could the Packers, who are now a bit aggressive in free agency with their new general manager, go out there and get Le'Veon Bell? Bring him in, have Rodgers hand the ball off to him, let him do his thing that he's doing now in Pittsburgh. I mean, could be trouble there in the NFC. I think that would be very, very interesting setup there. Now, speaking of the Raiders, they're the next team on my list, and I say this here because A, they're moving to Las Vegas in a couple years. 2020 is when the stadium is going to be built. Is supposed to be ready in the summer of 2020, and they just signed John Gruden to this big 10-year contract, and you know they need this big head coach name to sell tickets. Well, how about a big time running back like Le'Veon Bell to help sell more tickets? Le'Veon Bell, I think here you put him behind Derek Carr, I think you could easily have a much better offense. I think with the Raiders, you look at the AFC West is kind of wide open. I think Bell would give the Raiders the best chance at winning the West for several years. And I think for Oakland, or for the Raiders, I think this would be a move to make in order to try to maybe win a Super Bowl before they move to Vegas. So kind of an all-in year for next year maybe. Trying to bring a Super Bowl to Oakland before they leave. And they'll have the cap space, so we'll see if they actually do it. They did sign Marshawn Lynch last year. Didn't really work out. They brought in Doug Martin, and we saw they traded for Martavis Bryant, another Steeler, in the draft this year. So maybe they will look to add another Steeler and add Le'Veon Bell to the offense there in Oakland. Alright, so now I'm on the top two teams here that I've labeled that could overpay for Le'Veon Bell, and I list these two teams here, 1 and 2, because I think realistically these two are going to be the most likely destinations. You know, Green Bay, they may not be willing to overpay for Le'Veon Bell. Seattle may not be willing to overpay. Now Oakland, they may be able to, they probably will overpay. But I think considering the cap situation, I think these two teams are primed to be the team that Le'Veon Bell signed with in March of 2019. So number 2 on this list is the New York Jets. They had the most cap space of all teams this year. They made a run for Kirk Cousins that did not go as planned. Kirk Cousins ended up signing with the with the Vikings. So they ended up drafting Sam Darnold to get their quarterback of the future. And now they need a running back. And if you can pair up Le'Veon Bell with Sam Darnold, you know, you can help his development. And, you know, that way he can hand off to a back like Le'Veon. Kind of, you know, he doesn't have to do everything. So it will give Darnold a back that he can rely on every down, every snap there in New York. And I think, to me, the bright lights in New York might just entice Le'Veon Bell to go to New York instead of my number 1 team on this list. But we'll see what will happen here. I think when you look at the Jets defensively, they've built a good, solid defense. They got Sam Darnold as a young rookie quarterback that they're going to be grooming. I think you put Bell back there as a insurance policy for the rookie. I think that will be good. I mean, right now, we don't know if he's going to start this year. But if Sam Darnold is going to be the starter next year, then pairing Le'Veon Bell up with him will take a lot of pressure off of him as his first-year starter. Number 1 on this list, ladies and gentlemen, the cap situation is kind of how I made this list. To me, Indianapolis Colts are number 1 on this list for me. When you have Andrew Luck coming back healthy or not healthy, we don't know. He hasn't thrown a football yet. So, Andrew Luck here is going to be a big question mark. We saw what the Colts were without Andrew Luck. And it's the same thing that happened to him in 2011 when they lost Peyton Manning due to the neck surgery. And Colts ended up picking 3rd in the draft. They traded with the Jets to move down to 6. They drafted Quentin Nelson. They made a big focus on the O-line in the draft. So that tells me with their cap space and the focus on the offensive line, they may be primed to make a run for Le'Veon Bell. Right now, I just don't see the Colts being competitive, even if Andrew Luck comes back healthy. Right now you have Deshaun Watson, who also isn't a question mark from a health standpoint, but the Texans have always been a threat. Now you saw what they did with Watson before he got hurt. Tennessee is up there. They now have a new head coach. They were in the playoffs last year, even got a playoff win over the Chiefs. And I think with Le'Veon Bell, it would help the Colts compete in a very, very tough division. The Jaguars as well with their defense and making it to the AFC Championship game last year. So there's a lot of competition in that division. And for the Colts, they need somebody like Le'Veon Bell who can help them compete in a very, very tough division in the NFL for next year. So, with that being said, what do you guys think? Where do you see Le'Veon Bell landing in 2019? As I said, the Colts, I think, is going to be my pick for who I think he ends up signing with next year. But let me know in the comments below, who do you think will sign Le'Veon Bell? Or will the Steelers surprise everybody and re-sign him to a deal next year? I've been your host, Money Mike. This has been the Front 7 Podcast. And I'll be back with more of the Front 7 Podcast as we are gearing up for the 2018 NFL season.